everybody. Happy Friday. We have quite the stream. Big news day yesterday. I picked my favorite stories, the biggest stories, I think, for us to go over today. However, what everybody's talking about today is, I'm very proud to say, my scoop, that there is a big DC press conference, a private press conference happening today. Thank you, Tony, for just select press. James Gunn has a big announcement for next week, obviously. I don't know. Thank you, Michael. That's very sweet of you, Michael. I do not know yet what's been discussed or what's being discussed in this meeting. Thank you, Leonardo. Thank you, Elpidio. But I do know that the embargo on it will lift early next week. It's not Clayface, Poke. I don't think it has. I mean, Clayface might be part of it. But, they just did pick their Clayface director. It was James Watkins, who we discussed the other week. Very little interest I'm seeing in that movie. Maybe once they cast somebody, people might be more interested. I have no idea what's going on. I mean, hey, Not Modern Art History. Thank you, Aaron. You guys are so generous. I really appreciate it. And, somebody else benefits from your generosity as well. I just know that it's a private press conference. It's going on sometime today, and that the press in attendance are not allowed to publicly discuss it until Monday. I'm sure it'll leak. But I'm looking forward to discussing whatever it is with you on Monday. Okay, no, I wasn't supposed to say Monday. Oops, sometime soon. Okay, all right. So anyway, we'll have a great big day next week. It'll be fun. So the Clayface thing might be a part of whatever's going on, but it's got to be bigger than that because, Variety, a Hollywood Reporter broke the story. Hollywood Reporter wouldn't be able to have reported that if that's what it was, because they'd be under embargo. There are lots of guesses as to what it is. We'll see what happens. But we'll be discussing it very soon. I'll be doing a live. Hopefully, maybe I can do other videos off of it, but I'll be ready to go at a very soon date. Don't get me in trouble. All right. We have 3 great stories to go over today. Please keep your questions and comments to the 3 stories at hand while we're discussing them. But then, of course, at the end of the stream, as always, there'll be 10 minutes of Ask Me Anything. Okay. Thank you, Leonardo. That's very sweet of you. All right. Story number 1. Where'd it go? Boop. Oh, this was a big one yesterday. Just as I was getting out to go to the dentist and run some errands for the day, out came Amazon's press release, and it lit the world on fire. One of my favorite reactions, one of you actually sent me today, was this one. And I don't think this went the way Amazon thought it was going to go. Maybe they don't care, but it was a resoundingly negative reaction from pretty much everyone on the face of the earth. I don't think maybe there might be, if there's always somebody. A couple of people might have thought it was okay. But almost everybody, from fans to people within the industry to people of the world, including Britons and beyond, felt this was just the death of a franchise. It was pretty bad. It was as if someone had shot James Bond. All right, so let's talk about this deal. There are rumors. So the deal is that Barbara Broccoli and her half-brother, Michael G. Wilson, Amazon purchased MGM Studios a while ago. And one of the main reasons they wanted it was for Bond. And they got that reality show out of it that Brian Cox hosted, remember? But Barbara Broccoli did not want to do any spin-offs. She didn't want to do any streaming shows. She was really fighting Amazon every step of the way. She also couldn't find a new Bond, as you can see here. She really just could not find someone that she liked. She was apparently taking meetings, which is where all those headlines were coming from, those rumors, but she didn't like anybody. She didn't really like anyone that she was meeting with, and it was just taking a very long time. So Amazon's Jeff Bezos said, forget it. He's like the second richest man in the world now after Elon Musk. He said, I got to get, it's funny. A lot of people would like to see J.K. Rowling bought off, but I don't think Warner Brothers, of course, is, rumored to be cash poor. Just look at the budgets for DC movies and their advertising campaigns. But Bezos does not have that problem. So Bezos said the rumor around town is that he gave her and Michael G. Wilson $1 billion. Now, Matt Maloney from Hollywood Reporter said that he used to be at the Hollywood Reporter. He said he's hearing that's not true. But if it's anywhere near $1 billion, oh, she only got what, $500 million? I mean, it's an incredible payday. It's the kind of money that does make you just go home. It's a little bit like what happened, interestingly, to George Lucas. Oh, there's a let's follow in the footsteps of Star Wars, where Disney paid $4 billion to Lucasfilm. Although Lucasfilm was a company with George Lucas, I'm sure, got a decent amount of that money. But, it's a company, went to Lucasfilm and all those things, and has many, many employees. Eon Productions does not have a lot of employees. And I doubt they'll participate substantially in what has essentially been a family-run business since the beginning of the Bond movies, first produced by their father, Albert Broccoli. So they paid, and Disney, of course, ended up not knowing what to do with Star Wars. It's not dead. It's not doing great. But I think I would hope that would serve as a cautionary tale for Amazon. Amazon might just be looking at how much Disney made off of Star Wars, which has been copious. But it's scary, scary stuff. But yeah, it's that kind of money. That kind of money was exchanged hands. It might not have been $1 billion, but $1 billion is not outside the realm of possibility. So if it's even within striking distance of that is a substantial amount of money. Really, which just went to these two individuals. Now, here's something that's really interesting that I saw a couple of people bringing up, and that's that James Bond actually enters the public domain in just 10 years, which might have been another reason that they were like, hurry up, Barbara. We've only got 10 years to start a new Bond movie before somebody else can make a James Bond movie. So what does that mean? Now, the thing is that the thing that's going to be available is not the stuff from the movies, like the James Bond theme song won't be available. You won't be able to do things that were established in the films, but you will be able to do adaptations of Ian Fleming's famous novels. You will be able to create your own version of James Bond. And I would think, if particularly this goes poorly, I could see maybe even another studio. Right now, Winnie the Pooh became in the public domain, and Pinocchio, and everyone's, just a small little indie horror label is willing to take advantage of it. And they're actually doing pretty good. That Pinocchio movie looks not bad. But Bond would be available. And if Amazon makes enough of a mess with Bond leading up to that, I could see another studio stepping forward and say, we have every right to make another Bond movie, and we're going to make the one that fans want to see. So that's very, very interesting. But yeah, there's definitely a ticking clock here, and I think that's probably another reason that they decided to give this huge payout to just get Barbara and Michael G. Wilson out of the way. They're like, here's more money than you could ever dream of. Go away. And sadly, they said yes. We're going to talk about having a replacement or an heir as well. Now, to me, one of the things that's the most shocking about this is that Bond has now gone, well, I don't know if Barbara Broccoli is herself British. I don't know, was Albert Broccoli British? But, at least Barbara Broccoli cared about the British aspects of the Bond franchise. It was always extremely, extremely British to the core. But now, she's American British. Thank you, Psycho. But now, Amazon is in charge. And Amazon is an American company with American executives across the board. And that's really shocking that James Bond is no longer, controlled by the British. That's, I think, shocking and very scary. Now, the public response was super negative. Oh, it was so negative. Again, as I told you, from the fans to the industry. And I wonder if Amazon expected that. Again, I think there's a good chance Amazon maybe doesn't care. Or they're like, the internet's going to internet. You'll all change your mind when we give you our Bond movie. And to that, I would say, I hope that's true. But I think they have now an uphill battle. For instance, I agree with the fact that if they were able to sign Christopher Nolan, I don't think I would go with Tarantino because he's so American. I think you really need Christopher Nolan because Christopher Nolan is British. He long has said it's his dream to do a James Bond movie. Sam Mendes ripped off Nolan's style to basically make Nolan Bond movies with Daniel Craig. And Christopher Nolan, maybe he's available after he finishes with The Odyssey. I'd be like, Jeff Bezos, I hope you got some money left. I hope you're still a little liquid, because now you need to throw a lot of money Christopher Nolan's way. Although I don't know how much money you could throw Christopher Nolan at this point to get him to bat an eye, because he's already made so much money off of Universal. Didn't he make like $100 million off of Oppenheimer or something? And he just got a blank check to do whatever he wants for the Odyssey. They were like, what do you feel like doing, Chris? We'll bankroll it. Don't worry. So I think it would be difficult, I think, to I don't know if Christopher Nolan would want to do an Amazon Bond movie. He might feel that its soul has been sucked out of its body, and he doesn't want to get anywhere near it. And, I got to tell you, maybe he'll wait 10 years and just produce it himself, like Thanos style. Christopher Nolan could just wait 10 years, and then he would have total control over James Bond. He could do his own music. Oh, that's what I would do if I was Christopher Nolan. That's what I would do if I was Christopher Nolan, to be honest with you. He's British. I'd give myself 10 years. I can do my own theme song. I mean, everybody loves Christopher Nolan. He can basically do no wrong. And he doesn't have to then therefore listen to anybody. That would be a very strong move. That's what I think Christopher Nolan should do. Now, the big question here is family control versus studio control. Now, for many, many years, obviously, the entire time they've been making Bond movies, it's been controlled by a Broccoli. First it was Albert Broccoli, and then it became Barbara Broccoli. But now it's going to be controlled by a studio executive. And is the Bond franchise really big enough to be controlled by one executive, to make that their entire job? There is more of a chance that it would go under the umbrella of Amazon Film, which I think is Jennifer Salk. She's currently, I think she might be the one running Amazon Film. So, there are a lot of female executives. Disney just hired a female executive in charge of their overall live action movies. I hope these women do a great job and revive how people feel about female executives. Hey, Wes. Thank you very much. So, we'll see if they hire an individual person to take over the franchise for them. If they could hire a British executive, that would be helpful. I mean, I'd be like, hey, Amazon, why don't you go look for a British producer to take this over? That maybe, David, what's his name, Heyman, who did the Harry Potter movies, I would potentially maybe see if he was available. I think he's still working on Harry Potter. But he did Wonka. He's done very nice work of British adaptations. So happy birthday, Cat Shack. He's done very nice work of British adaptations for Warner Brothers. So I'd be like, again, I guess if Jeff Bezos is going to spend money on Bond, then he might as well just keep doing it, because I think that's the only way this is going to come together. Now, it's really unfortunate that they weren't able to train a replacement. And by the way, how bad are the choices out there that Barbara Broccoli didn't just pick somebody? Right? Maybe she doesn't like working with Amazon and she didn't want to pick somebody. She was just like, I'm not having a good time. Maybe that's what happened. It's very sad, but it's unfortunate that she did not train someone to take over. She has a daughter who clearly has no interest in making Bond movies. Chris Columbus's daughter is taking over the mantle, and they're producing movies together. A lot of you, I see Robert Eggers in the chat. They produced Nosferatu, and they're doing the upcoming new Labyrinth remake. So, it would be nice if one of them had an heir who wanted to take over the movies. Michael G. Wilson has some sons. And it's the same with Walt Disney. Walt Disney had 2 daughters, and, he unfortunately had a lot. Walt Disney, I think, was a great man, but I think he had flaws, significant flaws, many of them reflections of the time that he lived in. And he did not feel that his daughter, he didn't really see a woman running the studio. He raised them to be wives and mothers. And in fact, Walt Disney, one of his daughters married a football player, a college football star, and he got to head up the Disney company and really did a horrible job because he was a football player. And it was very sad. I always, to this day, wonder what would have happened if Walt Disney had bothered to train anybody to take over his company for him. If his daughters weren't interested, that would be one thing. But, if his daughters weren't interested, then I think I would have hoped that he would have looked for somebody else. I think people are always scared about training a replacement because then you might get replaced before you want to be replaced. But I think it's really important. That's right. It's very Succession, Care Bear. Oh yeah, that's my Peter Pan ringtone. I'm glad you guys, some of you are very good on the, you're very fast. But yeah, I really, I feel very bad that there are a number of really wonderful things that have not been able to continue because there was nobody in place to continue them. And that to me is very sad. But yeah, I would say that I've always felt that way about Disney, and I would very much so add James Bond now to the list. All right, so with Amazon now, I worry also, and I think a lot of us do, that how is James Bond going to be distinguished from Jack Ryan, Jack Reacher, Alex Cross? They've really created a formula, a very strong formula in their defense over at Amazon with these, shows about men who are fighting for the government or with the police, right? Or on their own, with Jack, as is the case with Jack Reacher. But how do you keep from James Bond just being added to this list and being the British version of these characters? That's very scary. And you have to have an executive that cares about making sure there's a distinction. That's the thing. Does an executive care about the longevity of a brand the same way that somebody who has like real connection to it care? I mean, that's just very, very difficult. Then cinematic universe. Will James Bond be made into a cinematic universe? I think that's what we all are very worried about. There'll be movies, there'll be shows, all kinds of stuff. And I think we're worried about it. I mean, we're saying Marvel should back away from Disney Plus. It's very difficult. I told you the other day that I don't know if franchises can be in both spaces at once. I think they might have to choose. I think a franchise might have to choose if it's movies or if it's streaming. I don't know if you can do both. And we were curious and worried about what kind of an explosion of content's going to happen with Bond. Remember, again, they only have 10 years. They might go into a state of mass panic. Now, obviously, James Bond isn't going to have a series, but potentially, Moneypenny, Q, Felix, who works for the CIA. But, then how are these characters going to cross back over into the movies? And as Marvel is finding out, if people don't watch the shows, they suddenly start to lose interest in the movies because they haven't connected and understand those characters. They could come up with different agents. He's 007. There's obviously at least 6 other agents. But then who would they be? What if one becomes more popular than James Bond? I think it's really risky. I think it would almost become comical. They're like, oh, this summer 004, and then the summer after that 002. And then you're like, what? So it's just very, very difficult. But then also there's another problem I think they've been having a hard time with. You guys want a poll? All right, we'll do a poll. I'm not quite sure what the poll would be. How do you want to see James Bond expand as a full universe? Oh no, we'll do movies and streaming. Movies and streaming. Just movies. No expansion. Only Bond. No expansion, only Bond. By the way, anyone who's watching, can vote in a poll. You don't have to be a member to vote in a poll. So how do you update James Bond? This has been a problem for the Bond franchise, even with Barbara Broccoli and Michael G. Wilson. Maybe that's another reason they sold it. Maybe they see themselves hurtling towards a cliff, the edge of a cliff, and they're like, we're never going to be able to traverse that successfully, so let's go out on a high note. I think particularly when they got offered all this money. But, you've got the Me Too movement. How can Bond still be a womanizer? I mean, obviously there's a way for all these things to be done, but it's very hard. How do you handle the fact that Bond is so wealthy? They kind of did a pretty good job with Daniel Craig, that he was like a street guy who got elevated to the Secret Service, and this world was as new to him as it might be to some of the viewers. So, but that's hard. 1% has become extremely unsympathetic these days. Look what happened to Tony Stark. He's become the villain. So I think that's a problem. Then also Bond works for politics and the government. Not too popular right now. Or if you're going to appeal to people who do like politics and the government, not going to appeal to other people. I mean, how does James Bond exist in today's political atmosphere? I mean, America and Russia are friends. What the what? What's happening? So I think it's just, what does Bond do in that scenario? If he stands against it, you're going to tick off a lot of moviegoers. And if he doesn't stand against it, you're going to tick off a lot of moviegoers. What's he going to do? So that's really a big problem. That's funny. Vitor is like, I will just watch Mission Impossible. But there's only one left. And then, what do you do about diversity? People are very vocal against diversity right now, which is, sad to see. But they unfortunately have traction. It's very nerve-wracking. Again, this is tricky. I know some people want to see Bond change. I'm in the camp of I don't want to see Bond change, but I want to see the characters around him be elevated and change. I liked the way that they handled the last Daniel Craig installment. I just think it went on for too long. And I really, really feel that Felix is the key. I think that Felix is his counterpart at the CIA. He is historically established as a black character. And I think that, if you cast someone who is not, a supporting actor, but someone who has lead capabilities, I think that could be very exciting. And then, I would be all for Felix having a movie. That's the only expansion that I would maybe consider. Maybe I would consider, I don't know though, do you do an agent for every country? Is there a French version of Bond? Who's their French counterpart? I mean, that's very tricky. But I do think that Felix has at least been established within the mythology, so I think that's okay. But it's still very hard to do. I don't trust, the list of people I would trust to do that would be like very hard to even get 1 or 2 names on it, much less 5 or 6. So I just think it's really very difficult. But yeah, I've always felt that the key to adding diversity to Bond would be to beef up the Felix role and to give him more to do. Like if in every Bond movie there was at least one sequence where he teamed up with Felix, or Felix went on his own mission to accomplish something to help out Bond. Hey, thank you, Dancing Dog 60. I think that would be really great. We'll get to your questions in just a moment. Thank you, Billy. Let's see here. That's true. If they Americanize Bond, it will just be Mission Impossible. And those movies are having a little bit of trouble as well. Thank you again, Dancing Dog 60. Then finally, for my things that I want to say, Henry Cavill. I would not go with Henry Cavill. Jeff Bezos. Oh, cringe. Jeff Bezos yesterday tweeted that, who do you want to be Bond? And you're like, oh God. I don't know how I feel about all these people injecting their own personality into the stuff. James Gunn is on the cover of it's a variant cover, to be fair, of an upcoming Superman issue. I've never seen anything like it. George Lucas and Kevin Feige never did this. But what I find interesting is that this is very similar to how Trump and Elon Musk handle themselves, where people do artwork, including them in things, and mythological fantasy versions of them. And then you're seeing that being extended to Bezos and Gunn. And at this point, I'm like, let's just see if it works. I mean, if all these people pay to go see this stuff, then I guess fine. Like, if Jeff Bezos going to have a cameo in the James Bond movie, I think he might. I mean, I wouldn't say that was impossible at this point. I mean, how would I feel about that? I'd probably throw open my mouth a little bit. But what would keep me from seeing the movie? Let's see how good the trailer is. But, I'm just surprised that he tweeted that. It was just such an odd thing to do. I mean, it'd be one thing to say, I'm very glad that we're now a part of this franchise. A nice little business statement. But that's not what it was. So anyway, Henry Cavill's I think Henry Cavill, he's supposed to be doing some stuff with Chad Stahelski. He has gotten older. I think he maybe, but I still think he has time to be in a franchise. Hollywood likes to cast a little bit younger because then you can play the character for longer. I have to tell you, I just think Henry Cavill has too much baggage. I wouldn't use Henry Cavill. I just wouldn't do it. I would want something that seemed very fresh. Hold on. Unless Christopher Nolan wanted him. I'd be so scared of Christopher Nolan if I were Jeff Bezos. That's who he should pay the money to. Let's see here. How do you want to see James Bond expand? 42% of you want to keep it just for the movies. Another 42% say no expansion. So 42% of you are okay with expanding it, but only as long as it's in the movie space. Then another 42% of you don't want to expand at all. You just want to focus on James Bond. But that's interesting that a number of you are okay with other movies maybe. That's very interesting. And then 14% of you are open to whatever Amazon wants to do. You would be okay with a streaming show. So there is an appetite I have to tell you, I think that James Bond has fallen off. That one Bond movie made $1 billion, but the last couple of Bond movies people haven't been as excited about. I think it does seem a little bit stale. I think it's been around for a very long time. I think they do need to do something to energize it. And some of you are open to, as long as it stays just in the movie space. You don't want a streaming show, but as long as it stays in the movie space, you're open to it. And that to me is very intriguing. All right, any questions or comments here? All right. Thank you, Danny. I'm not sure what age I would go with for Bond. I mean, I think some choices like Tom Blythe and Josh O'Connor skew a little bit too young, in my opinion. I think Bond needs to seem very much like a grown man because so many older fans, the franchise has so many older fans. Like a lot of dads and grandpas have to want to go and see the new James Bond movie. Paul Brunel says, how long do you think the new actor should be Bond? Should it be a 10 to 15 year commitment before moving on to a new actor? Well, I would hope it wouldn't take as long to make the movies as it did with Daniel Craig. Daniel Craig, very bad luck with, strikes. Daniel Craig went through 2 strikes. Well, I think they were done by the time of the last strike. But yeah, there was a big strike which delayed Bond and really hurt Quantum of Solace. Then there was COVID. I mean, that's why it took so long for them to finish Daniel Craig's run. Future movie actor says, in licensed so-and-so, James Bond turns down a mission in Istanbul. That would mean the 008 Bill Timothy would have to go on the mission in his place. Well, you really know your Bond stuff. Is that really 008's name? No way to Guy Ritchie, future movie actor. No way! Guy Ritchie's too lowbrow. Too lowbrow. This has to still be something that has prestige and elegance to it. Ulysses, I say hi to you all the time. You keep asking me. I keep saying hi. Hello. Martine, you've never seen a Bond movie? Really? Oh, there's some great Bond movies. I think my favorite of all time is Casino Royale, the Daniel Craig one. Yeah, Dancing Dog 60. They said Aaron Taylor Johnson really never was in. I mean, they said that Barbara Broccoli took a meeting with him, but obviously wasn't impressed. Poor Aaron Taylor Johnson. Adam DeSabato says, so I just said about Aaron Taylor Johnson. Wanda's Attorney, you haven't seen... Let me ask if you guys have seen Bond movies. This is shocking to me. Maybe they can do whatever the hell they want because you guys don't know the franchise. Have you seen a James Bond movie? All of them? That's me. Some. And then none. And again, anybody who's watching can vote. Anybody who's watching can vote. You don't have to be a member to vote. Chico's never seen one. Archer's Arrow has only seen one. Oh my God. Maybe they overpaid for it. F. Ken, that's true. Henry Cavill was up for James Bond for Casino Royale. It was down between him and Daniel Craig. And in fact, the reason they did not choose Henry Cavill was they did not feel that he was muscular enough, which obviously had a huge impact on him, and he became the most muscular he could ever become. But yes, that is why Henry Cavill did not get James Bond back in the day. It was between him and Daniel Craig. Rashad wants to see Jonathan Bailey as Bond and Aaron Pierre as Felix, or just Aaron Pierre as Bond. I think they're going to stay. I think this is a franchise where you need to stay somewhat traditional. But, and Aaron Pierre is now Green Lantern, so I think that would disqualify him. Adam says, you've seen all of them. Oh, you took a class on James Bond. That's great. That must have been a great class. Hey, Pumpkin DeShazer. Let's see here. Hey, Darius. Regé Jean Page. People were talking about that, but it's just not going to happen. Look, Ben 10's laughing over there in France. Well, I love that you're having a good time. All right, Sam Reed, Sophia. He might be skew a little older for what they would want to start with someone for a franchise, but I love Sam Reed so much, I of course have to say yes. All right, let me close the poll. I'm shocked. So the results are 52% of you have seen only some, whereas 23% of you have never seen a James Bond movie. That's incredible to me. And then only another 23% of you have seen all of them. Wow. I have to say, they don't age very well. Oh, Sarah, I would do Idris Elba as M is an interesting choice. Although I think Idris Elba would maybe be insulted to do that. I don't know if he'd take it, considering the fact that at one point he was considered for Bond, or people wanted him to be Bond, and then other people were really mean to him about that. I don't know if he wanted to do that. But let me see. Let me just do a couple other questions. Phil Layfield. Hey, Phil, who's British, says, does Bezos appoint someone to oversee Bond as a whole, like James Gunn? Well, as I was saying earlier, I don't know if this is going to be big enough to be someone's entire job. But it wouldn't be, I think Bezos would probably have to sign off on it, but it would be the film division who would search for that person and then present the option to Bezos to approve. I'm sure Bezos will be heavily involved in this because he spent so much freaking money on it. Remember, they spent $8 billion to buy MGM. They overpaid for it so they could get Bond. But then it came with these strings attached, these broccoli strings attached. They're like, oh my God, it's covered in broccoli. So to get that broccoli off, they had to pay an extra $1 billion. So they basically paid $9 billion. That's more than Disney paid for each of its individual acquisitions. They were paying $4 billion. You get $4 billion. You get $4 billion. They paid $4 billion for Marvel. They paid $4 billion for Star Wars. But Marvel got Star Wars. Disney got Marvel and Star Wars for less than Amazon got for Bond. That seems like a stupid deal to me. I'd be like, it's not worth that much. Olivia Colman can't do it, Mekki Powell. Oh, I was thinking of the actor. Mekki Powell, Olivia Colman can't do it because she was in Secret Invasion playing a similar role. Hey, Bison. Let's see here. Bill Malloy says Theo James. I would like that, but I don't know if he's a big enough name. Oh, my pleasure, Brad. That's very sweet of you to say. Clive Owen's too old for the role, but maybe he could play M, but I don't think he's old enough. I think he's not prestigious enough. Let's see here. No, it can't be. I would be very upset if they cast an American actor in the role. They cast British people as Superman all the time, or they have, with Henry Cavill, but it's okay. All right, let's move on to the next story. Okay. It's funny you say Eddie Redmayne, Jane, because, his Day of the Jackal miniseries, he's kind of playing a Bond. And it's, of course, done extremely well. I have to finish that. Oh, thanks for reminding me, Jane. I got to finish Day of the Jackal because I think it had interesting elements to it, and it's just so successful. I should probably watch that. I need stuff to watch. I just finished some Apple TV screeners. Oh my God. I can't talk about it until March 7th, and I'm so excited to talk to you about this show. It's my new The Offer. I finished it the other day. It was just, oh my God. Okay. Let's go to the next story. Story number 2. Boop. All right, here we go. Let's talk about what's going on with the MCU and Disney Plus. So why are there so many headlines? That's because they're getting ready to launch Daredevil. Daredevil is actually coming out extremely soon. Daredevil is launching on March 4th. That's a Tuesday. We haven't gotten a drop time yet. I really hope it's 9 p.m. I would be very disappointed if this was a 3 a.m. show. But considering they've consistently done 9 a.m. drops for this type of show for the past couple of ones, I would suspect it will be 9 p.m. again. It's a two-episode debut. And I don't know if they're even going to release that many more screeners than that. I think, and that was only to junket press. I think you're going to see a very careful, let's see how Disney moves forward after what happened with Captain America: Brave New World. But anyway, I'm excited about the show. I think it looks great. I think that the interest has been a little low out of the gate, which has surprised me from the general public. I don't know if maybe it's been too long. But this is supposed to be a big deal for Disney. It certainly was on the festival. On the the Comic-Con circuit last year, and then suddenly everybody lost interest for some reason. All right. So they're on the press tour for this. And this gentleman, Brad Winderbaum, is doing a lot of interviews. He is the head of Marvel Television under Kevin Feige. So he's throwing out headlines, and I think they're trying to really get you interested in the space again. We've seen this happen before, where they're getting ready to release a movie, and they tell you in advance that the sequel's been greenlit, and they're like, "Oh, you better get on board this train now, or else you're going to fall helplessly behind." Or they make you feel, "We're so excited about the movie we're releasing that we're definitely going to do a sequel, so you should go see it because we're projecting strength and confidence." And then sometimes if the movie doesn't do well, then they just conveniently forget it. Like we're still waiting on Rian Johnson's trilogy. Remember, they were like, Rian Johnson's going to make a trilogy of Star Wars films. Where is it? It's been a very long time at this point. That's okay. Rian Johnson's a very wealthy man, thanks to his own deal over at Netflix for, also with Daniel Craig, by the way. They're both extremely wealthy. They got hundreds of millions of dollars off of that for Knives Out. All right, so we'll see what happens. So here are some of the headlines that have come out. Today, it was announced, it was revealed by Variety, so we can discuss it, that Tony Dalton will return as the swordsman, although he never really had a sword, from Hawkeye. Remember he was in Hawkeye? He was Kate Bishop's, her mother's boyfriend. So he's coming back, and they said he's going to appear like in 2 episodes of Daredevil Born Again. I hope this isn't the level of Easter egg that we can look forward to, or this show's in trouble. All right, so I think, why did they spoil the surprise? Ben 10, maybe he's on the press tour, which would be weird to me. That's not even like a Daredevil character, really? I mean, I don't know. Let's see. All right, then, so that was one headline that came out today. Then a couple of days ago, this headline came out. This was a leak. And this was the idea that Marvel has hit pause on Nova, Strange Academy, and something called Terror Inc., which I thought was funny because we were just saying that Disney Plus was causing big problems for Captain America Brave New World. Many people were like, who's Isaiah Bradley? Who's Falcon? They never met them because they didn't watch the Disney Plus series, and it was a big problem for the movie. And so I thought that was very interesting that right after that, on the heels of the opening weekend for Captain America, which was soft, and the cinema score, I think, was the most alarming part of what happened last weekend. I'll be very curious to see what the second weekend drop is for Captain America. We'll discuss that on Sunday. But that they decided to put a hold on these shows. I found that very, very interesting. And what do you know? Maybe they are going to take my advice and try and create worlds that only exist on the small screen. Because what was the next headline? Well, Winderbaum said that they might bring back Jessica Jones, Luke Cage, and Iron Fist from Netflix as well. Just like they're bringing back Charlie Cox, they might bring back the whole crew. That's very interesting. I think it's interesting they weren't willing to say that they were going to bring them back, that they only said we might bring them back. I mean, that to me is very telling. I think that it would have projected obviously more confidence and been an actual headline. Nobody paid attention to this. No one paid attention to this headline because it's so soft. If they'd actually said we are going to bring them back, well, then I think, I think it would have gotten more attention. So we'll see. But that, to me, was very interesting. And then, today, there's yet another headline. And Brad Winderbaum is saying that they are very interested in doing Agatha All Along Season 2, and they're also interested in Hawkeye Season 2, but yet they need to have the right opportunity. And that it has to be the right story, and that they're not going to rush those sequels. And to that I say, boo. I say boo to this. I don't remember what that's from. I say boo to this because it's going to take too long, and the big problem with Marvel has been that stuff takes too long. If a show is doing well, you bring it back. And I'm very disappointed, in fact, that Jack Schaefer has signed on for another Disney Plus show, Holes. She's going to do that remake because that means she's not available then to do a Wiccan show. And so that makes me very nervous as to what's actually going to be happening. So we'll see what happens. But again, it's a soft, it's not a confirmation. It's just a, yeah, we might. And I think that That's tough. Oh, is it from The Princess Bride? Is that what that's from? Oh, I don't remember. Okay, that's funny. All right, but yeah, it makes me very nervous. All right, then finally, I do wonder what is going to happen. What will be the role of Disney Plus after Captain America Brave New World has shown a real problem there? What is going to be, I think the Marvels started the warning signs, which also was very much reliant on having seen Disney Plus shows. Then you have a Captain America movie, and then also even the upcoming Thunderbolts movie is very reliant on having seen these Disney Plus shows. So it's a problem. I'm curious I think we might see dramatic changes on how they handle Disney Plus. And I'll be interested to see how fast Marvel moves on this. All right, so that's my thoughts on this story. Do you have any questions or comments before we go to the next one? Yeah, Cosmics, they need much less output. Denzel, I liked the special presentations as well. I thought Wolfman and the Guardians of the Galaxy special were great. And also, that did not hurt the upcoming Guardians movie because it wasn't connected at all. Nacho, I was excited for Daredevil, but that generic Disney Plus show, you didn't like the look of it. I canceled my Disney Plus after She-Hulk was so bad, and I will wait for reviews to see if you come back for Daredevil. That's interesting. That's very interesting. I think that for the last couple of Disney Plus shows, the embargo has not lifted for review until the show actually drops, which makes it very difficult to review the shows because at that point you're just going to watch. Sometimes I don't even review shows because of that. If a show, it's very hard for me to review something if the embargo drops when the show does. That comes from Netflix. That's right, Ben 10, longer episodes and you're getting 2 of them. You're getting a little movie on the 4th. Ulysses, I hope you're coming from a good place, but you're spamming at this point, and if you continue, I'll have to block you. Let's see here. Robert says, Disney Plus for street-level stories, cinema for larger global threats. I would agree with that. And I would say that Wanda probably is the streaming, because she's established there. I mean, I know Wanda is amazing, but I think, that's where she's consistently been at this point. Elise, they have started on season 2 of Daredevil. That's great. That's very, very exciting. Oh, Faye, do you say boo to that? Wanda just on streaming? Dimitri, Ironheart's coming out. It's coming out this summer. Juan Gabriel, I'm not worried about the reshoots for Daredevil because word is they just started over. So, I mean, I liked what I saw with the trailer quite a bit. I thought the trailer was very, very strong. Stasis says if they're an official Avenger, they should be movies exclusive. That's a great rule of thumb. I think that's a great idea. Okay. All right, I think we're ready to go to the next story. I mean, this is pretty straightforward. Okay. Next up, story number 3. Oh, I'm excited. Okay. Boom, baby. Avatar is back. Avatar is in The Last Airbender. Major announcement yesterday. Nickelodeon, sorry. Nickelodeon has introduced a new series. They gave no date as to when it will be coming out, but they are going to have a 3rd Avatar series with a new Avatar at the center of it. That's very exciting for Avatar fans. Avatar fans have been around for a long time at this point. It is the 20th anniversary of Avatar: The Last Airbender. Aang was first introduced to audiences in 2005, with his first 3 books running 2005 to 2008. Then, 4 years later, The Legend of Korra came out and ran for 2 years. Incredible show. When they recently redid they did the Netflix live action, I rewatched Avatar. I'd watched Avatar first before Korra came out, and then I watched Avatar and Korra again last year. And I had such a good time. Those things hold up incredibly well. They're so good. Now, you remember, Korra was very controversial. Korra, they decided to, the fans had shipped Korra and Asami, making Korra bi. And the show decided to actually go in that direction. Nickelodeon was nervous about it, and so the show became an online exclusive. It did not air on television. But I was covering Avatar episodes when they came out, just like any kind of major show, and I suspect that I would probably do the same going forward because I'm such a big fan, and I think that the fan base is so strong. The fan base is a lot older at this point. We'll talk about that in a moment, as you can see from the outline. So Avatar is coming back in a big way. Nickelodeon is really bringing Avatar back. They not only have the Netflix live action series, which has a season 2 coming up where they're going to introduce Toph. I thought the first season was good. I liked it. I thought they did a really good job. Just like Disney live action adaptations, I thought that it was faithful to the original, but added complexity and depth. I thought, for instance, what they did with Zuko was really, really fantastic. So I like the Netflix show, and I'm excited to see it coming back. Then there's an animated movie hitting theaters in like just a year, less than a year at this point. January 2026, there will be an animated movie in theaters about the adult Aang. I'm very excited about that. Neza 2 from China just did 7 million in theaters in the United States. And so if that could do 7 million, I think an Avatar movie that's exclusive to theaters about adult Aang, who we've never seen in his own story before. We've only seen glimpses. I think that could make a significant amount of money, and it would be a huge step forward. It would be what we wanted War of the Rohirrim to be from Lord of the Rings, which ended up not being good. So if we can get Aang, that movie, that could be a huge breakthrough for animation in the West for adult audiences. Because the action sequences, Avatar: The Last Airbender is famous for incredible action sequences. But then, of course, I wonder how it's going to be coexisting with James Cameron's Avatar. Avatar was wrapped, basically. They haven't really been existing at the same time. Avatar fans get very upset. Last Airbender fans get very upset about James Cameron, a lot of the overlap. For instance, he just introduced some wind avatars over in his movies, which are clearly very much based, I guess they're all based on Tibetan monks. But it's frustrating to see so much borrowed from The Last Airbender. But now that these franchises are going to coexist, and Nickelodeon's not making Avatar small anymore, their Avatar, they're trying to blow it up. They're putting it in theaters and everything. This Avatar Aang movie actually comes out the month after James Cameron's Avatar movie. That's interesting. I just thought of that. I wonder how that will go. That's very, very interesting. All right, then, so this is the new show. It's called Seven Havens, and it's going to be 2 books. And here's the synopsis. Let's go over the synopsis here. Hold on. All right, so Avatar: Seven Havens is set in a world shattered by a devastating cataclysm. A young earthbender discovers she's the new Avatar after Korra. But in this dangerous era, that title marks her as humanity's destroyer, not its savior. I guess they don't like the fact that the human and the spirit worlds are still combined. Hunted by both human and spirit enemies, she and her long-lost twin must uncover their mysterious origins and save the Seven Havens before civilization's last strongholds collapse. That sounds, I have to be honest with you, only medium. And I'm a little nervous about it. So she's an earthbender. I think we're all very excited to have an earthbender Avatar. We've, of course, had wind and water. Now we're getting earth. That means fire would be next. I'm a little nervous, but I'm a little nervous about a female Avatar again. And that they're both female. It could have been, twins, one, like Pietro and Wanda, well, they're brother-sister, but one boy, one girl. I just think in today's environment, it makes me a little bit nervous. I think that the Avatar fandom will love it. The rumor is that one of them, though, is a very small child. There was a leak as to what these twins look like. I think that from a business perspective, it made me nervous. But from a fan perspective, obviously, I have a lot of faith in Brian Konietzko and Michael DiMartino. But we'll see. I would hate to see Avatar. Avatar is entering a very different world than it has ever existed in before. a world that was very, very aggressive against the Acolyte. And so, but The Last Airbender has always been this way. And so this is a space where this has always been the way the content has been handled. And so I'm not sure if, with the Acolyte, it was like these things are being injected into a franchise. But here, this is what the franchise has always stood for. So I have a little bit of we'll just see how it works out. I'm nervous. I don't know. I think people who wouldn't like this wouldn't be interested in hating on it because they don't even follow it. But let's just see what they decide to do. Michael DiMartino and Brian Konietzko are returning. They're overseeing all of this Avatar expansion, Last Airbender. They can't just keep calling them both Avatar. I think it's very confusing. It's very confusing. They're even using the same font. I think this is very difficult. And neither one of them they're playing a game of Avatar Chicken. So we'll see. And then I also wonder, what are they going to do about older fans? Older fans are much older. People who are very much into Avatar are adults at this point. But this is going to air on Nickelodeon, although obviously therefore also Paramount Plus. But do they want to try and bring new fans into the franchise? And then also, if it's adults who like this stuff, do they want to see like a kid Avatar, who's so young? They're twins, but one's quite big. I'm not quite sure how that works. But yeah, we'll see what they decide to do. But I mean, I gotta tell you, my own, is Ulysses still spamming? Okay, thank you. We'll just do a timeout for now. Hopefully, and what's your one warning, Ulysses? If you do it again, I'll have to ban you. All right. So anyway, I'm not a huge fan of the spirit storytelling aspects. I mean, I like it in small doses, quite a bit actually. But like the final season of Korra went full spirit world, and it's very Miyazaki. But I think that has limited appeal, over elemental bending and cool action sequences. I feel having so much of the spirit elements to me is not the greatest business decision. Also, it seems like a lot of civilization is gone. And, that to me is I'm a little bit nervous about. And then also, they have a real situation. How are they going to handle Korrasami? They can't back away from Korrasami. That would be horrible. They made the choice. They have to stick with it. And I think people obviously, people are going to want to know more, a little bit more about what happened to Korra and what happened to Asami. And they went off together. It was very clear they were going off as a couple to explore the spirit world together. And, they're not going to be the leads, but that has to have, they can't abandon that element. I think that their fandom would never forgive them. And so I hope that they don't make that mistake. So, oh, that's right, Ross. They did have them together in the comics. I just wonder how much of a part of the show they'll be. Korra is dead, but we got glimpses of Aang's life, even though he was dead. Asami might not be dead just because Korra is. And then also, I think one of the interesting things is getting glimpses of what Korra accomplished during the rest of her time as an Avatar. That's a good point. Mexican Nacho, DiMartino and Konietzko will protect that storyline. Oh, thank you, Matt Stone. That's very kind of you. Thank you very much. Denzel, I'd love a Korra movie in the future. True to form, because she's a female character, there was a lot of controversy around her. She was a little annoying at points. I'll concede it. But she was a great character, and I think her show was phenomenal. Hi, Armanoff. All right, okay, I gotta get going. I have to work on my monkey review. So let's do Ask Me Anything for 5 minutes. Thanks, Dimitri. I'm so glad you enjoyed my Korra coverage. And I agree with Mexican Nacho. The animation in Korra is second to none. So you can ask me anything that you want. Chico, I'm going to post a review on The Monkey. I'm not going to tell you my thoughts in advance. Juan Gabriel, I didn't watch The Gorge. I was thinking of it when the reviews were strong at first, but then the reviews kind of went down and the audience reaction's not so great, and I have other things that I want to do. Although maybe I'll end up watching it tonight. Let's see. Oh, Mika, what do I think of the Dwayne Johnson Scorsese movie? I wish Emily Blunt wasn't in it. I think it's too much Dwayne Johnson and Emily Blunt together. I don't like it when people are always doing the same castings. I mean, Leonardo DiCaprio is always with Scorsese. But I'm excited for Dwayne Johnson. Just goes to show you, never give up. Remember the low point that Dwayne Johnson reached? The lowest of the lows when he lost out on DC. But now he's going to star in a Scorsese movie. So that's amazing. Happy Friday to you too, MM92. What 2025 movie do you think has potential to surprise people and become a hit? Ooh. I have to think about that. I'm not sure. I think the hits are pretty well pegged. John Thrasher says, thoughts on the rumor that Doomsday is delayed because the script isn't ready. Is it delayed? Did it just get delayed? I haven't heard anything about that. Let's see here. Klaus says, Grace, do you want Demi Moore or Mikey Madison to win? That's an interesting question. I would actually like to see Demi Moore win. I think Demi Moore's having a moment. I think it would be kind of like it would just be like when Mickey Rourke, they took the Oscar away from him at the last minute. I would like Demi Moore to get it. Is the audio low? Oh, sorry. I have to have it low to film, and sometimes I forget to turn it back up. Nafek says, with only 2 films left before Doomsday, how do you think the MCU will perform at the box office with the current public perception? I'm glad they're taking a break before Doomsday comes. Let people miss Marvel a little bit. I'm nervous. I think that after Captain America, I think everybody's nervous. Paul Brunel says, what are your top 3 Pixar films? Ooh, Monsters, Inc., Toy Story, obviously, the first one, and The Incredibles 2. I love those movies. Harlequin Dove says, what if Doom suit is just a variation on an Iron Man suit? I think that's brilliant. I mean, if we're doing it, I guess we have to do it. But he is in another suit of armor. This time he just can't take it off. Maybe he had an accident and he's stuck in it for some reason. Again, I told you. Again, he was looking pretty burnt at the end of Endgame. I wonder if that's just, a version where he didn't die and became Doom. I'm telling you, I think there's something going on there. I told you in my video the other day that I suspect Doom will be Infinity Stone powered. Yeah, I didn't watch the new Spider-Man show. It didn't seem like it was for me. There wasn't a lot of interest in it, and so I did not watch it. Dirk, I feel weird about the White Lotus numbers. I'm very curious to see how people react to what Mike White has decided to do this season. So I'm kind of in a difficult place. Oh, Carlos, I'm glad you like the new Pixar show. And yes, Darius, I saw that Cynthia Erivo is hosting the Tonys. She's really having a moment there. Good for her for capitalizing on it. Oh, John says that production was delayed, not the movie, for Doomsday. They should make sure that script's really good. I don't know how many lives they got left over there. Adam Sphere says, if you could bring back any canceled show, what would you pick? For you, it would be Mindhunter? Yeah, I'd love to see Mindhunter come back. That would make me very happy. Mike, I haven't seen the rest of Severance yet, but I do hear that our screeners are coming out pretty soon, and I do plan to do a spoiler review once the season wraps. Oh, Ross, I haven't read the new Zatanna book yet, but I did buy it. It's on my iPad. I'm going to read it this weekend. I'm so glad to hear it's good. I bought the new Catwoman. Catwoman's been unreadable for years. And I thought this new Catwoman that just dropped this week was excellent. Very good artist. Heck yeah, Jason Momoa is in Dune 3. That storyline's going to be fantastic. But I'm glad to hear it's confirmed. Hey, Dory, it's always great to see you. Hey, Carl. Carl says that Echo hurt Daredevil. That's very possible. It certainly helped, I think, hurt Kingpin's image. And then Dancing Dog 60 says, I think Marvel and fans were spoiled by that one year when so many films came out. Oh, look at all these questions. Okay, hold on. So many films made $1 billion. That was 2019. The Endgame was really beautiful. It's going to be hard to repeat that. Oh, I do love Inside Out too. Brown-Eyed Black Sheep. I love a lot of Pixar. I like a lot of Pixar movies. I also like Finding Nemo quite a bit. They have some really good stuff. Amy, I am very much excited for Severance. I reviewed it when it first dropped, a non-spoiler review for the episodes that I'd seen, and I will do a spoiler review when it ends. Poke, I love you too, Poke. I love you very much. I think this is going to be a Matt Reeves' Clayface, for Robert Pattinson. Thank you, LOL of the Rings. That's great. Wanda's attorney says thoughts on Julius Ona's comments today about the Cap 4 post-credit scene teasing the Illuminati. I didn't even see that. Oh, thank you, Isaac. Thank you. That's very nice of you. That's very sweet. I would just say how. I think that's such a reach. William says, how would you tell a story of a strong male character? William, look, trying to get me in trouble. Could it be done successfully and not be upsetting? Of course it can. Of course. Of course it can be done. I mean, I think that I feel bad that you feel that way. I hope you don't feel that way. I hope you're just trolling. I mean, how about every Spider-Man story? How about, all kinds of stuff. There's like lots of, I don't think that's a valid question. I mean, look at Tom Cruise. Happy birthday, questionable burrito. That's great. Thank you, Wanda's attorney. Doom is supposed to be on the Illuminati, right? That's too complex. I hope they don't do that. Phil says, any thoughts on Rocksteady making a Batman Beyond game trilogy? It'd be the first time the character is in the mainstream. And maybe it'll make you watch the Batman Arkham cutscenes. Maybe it will. I'll certainly watch these new cutscenes. I enjoy watching cutscenes. Boston Chattanooga. I'm glad you love Korra. Me too. Carl, so I don't know if it's Tony from the Illuminati or not. We'll see. Darius says, do you think that James Gunn should bring in the Watchmen after the success of the show? The show wasn't successful, though, which is why they never brought it back, which is too bad because I thought it was excellent. All right, I have to go. I won't be able to do I already went 3 minutes over because I love talking to you guys so much. All right, I'll see you next week. Whenever this DC news drops, maybe on Monday, I will do a live stream. So let's keep an eye on the news. It won't be immediate. I'll need a little bit of time to get the pictures together and get my thoughts together, but I'll be pretty close after the news drops. Okay, everybody. See you soon. Bye-bye. Bye-bye-bye. Bye.